this guest, and we have had her on before, but apparently she's from a family that makes the abortion writers over and the scribblers over the abortion scribblers of the New York Times very, very upset. It's Evita Duffy, our favorite anti-communist. Evita, will you apologize to the abortion scribblers, and will your family apologize for having so many darn children, as well as just being, successful and in the public eye so much?
They would like us to, Jack. This is an incredible thing that happened this week. So let me just give some backstory.
No, the New York Times wrote a massive hit piece on your family.
Yes. There has been this reporter at the New York Times pestering everybody for months now, like distant relatives, old roommates, our parish priests, trying to dig up dirt on our family. She is a former Washington Post abortion reporter. Now she's cosplaying as a family expert for the New York Times, but it's very obvious what this entire piece is about. It was essentially to slam my family, my dad, for being a wonderful family man, having 9 kids, and wanting other Americans to also have more kids. That was the thesis of this incredibly stupid and frankly offensive hit piece.
So you have too many siblings. Your mother and father, who are both very successful. You're very successful. They're not allowed. Was she able to find any actual, dirt? I'm still confused about what exactly was the newsworthiness of this piece.
There was nothing. So one of the big no-nos in the article was my dad is actually implemented at DOT, the Department of Transportation. He's the secretary over there, that he's going to prioritize DOT funding for places that have higher birth rates. He wants to promote infrastructure in places that are rebuilding the next generation of Americans. This was deeply disturbing to her, this reporter. Her name is Carolyn Kitchener, and she starts to quote Democrat senators calling this dystopian. It's like The Handmaid's Tale. It was a very deranged piece. She also was citing my siblings and I making pancakes on Fox and Friends and saying that we all looked very uncomfortable to sort of paint this narrative that my dad is using us all as props. We aren't props. We are a very loving, very normal, albeit large family. And for some reason, this is deeply upsetting to a lot of childless cat ladies out there who happen to be journalists at the New York Times. I'm not sure.
We're playing, just so folks know, we're playing President Trump's arrival to The Hague now, the NATO summit. We'll cut live. He doesn't appear to be taking any questions right now. You can see him walking up the steps. Just an incredible shot, by the way, as he heads into his closed door meeting there. And we'll cut live if he does appear to take questions, or if he's giving remarks. It doesn't appear to be at this point. By the way, Vita, I just to respond to that first point you made about, so the Secretary of Transportation wants to divert funding to places that have higher birth rates. Well, wouldn't that mean that's places where the population is growing? So because the population is increasing, they might need more funding for transportation because there's more people there. I mean, this is the most obvious policy that you could think of. And rather than use some kind of, cockamamie, race-based, DEI or, critical race theory analysis, he's simply saying, oh, well, there's more people here, so we should put more money there. What am I missing?
That's exactly right, Jack. This is just common sense policy from the Trump admin, from the Department of Transportation. What I think is interesting is there's a history here. Margaret Sanger, who is the founder of Planned Parenthood, number 1 abortion provider in America, had a deep hatred of large families, especially Catholic families. She has all these quotes and all of her writing. I went through them all when I was in college. I did an entire piece on it. But basically, she thought that they were the bane of society, that they were creating poverty and crime. And so she hated large families, and she believed that we had an overpopulation problem. Today, it's very obvious that we have an underpopulation problem. The Democratic Party is still antinatalist, but now they're not just antinatalist, they're specifically anti-American babies, because they will admit that we have an underpopulation problem. Margaret Sanger was totally wrong, but they want us to replace ourselves, not with our own children, but with mass immigration, mostly from third world countries. So there's a really deep hatred of not just babies and children and family, but American families. underpinning this entire article and really the movement and ideology behind it.
No, it's so clear they're anti-family because they understand that family units and this is why Karl Marx had said that he's against the nuclear family. Black Lives Matter, a cultural Marxist organization, said that they were against the nuclear family because having a society or having a family that's based on the state, having a society that's based on government doesn't work if you have a society that's based around strong families, strong religion, strong communities, all of the things that built the United States and all of Western civilization into what it is. And so in order to shift that, what do you have to do? You have to attack the family. And, forgive me for speaking personally, but your family stands as a massive threat to the entire liberal project because you've got a mom and a dad who are very successful. They live in the public eye, but also at the same time have a huge, happy family. And so the longer that people see that, the more the cognitive dissonance is triggered by people hearing, wait a minute, I was told that I had to choose between family and career or choose between my dreams and, living, as you say, the Handmaid's Tale, when in reality, that's a false choice and it always was one.
Well, Jack, that's exactly what is happening right now. Because if you look at what Democrats are offering the world, what is it? DoorDash addictions, scrolling endlessly while you're by yourself in your apartment. Like, this is not happiness. And then you look at a family like mine, and I'm going to tell you what, we're a very authentically happy family. Imperfect, chaotic. This is what families are like, especially big families, but we're very happy. And I think that they are threatened by the example that families like mine give to the rest of America, that you can have it all. You can have a very successful life. You can be well off and you can have a beautiful family, a loving family, and it's not nightmarish to have a lot of kids. This is an existential threat to the entire left-wing project because, again, these people are pagan in their hearts and they hate the idea of the joy and fulfillment and happiness and civilization building, really, that comes with large families.
All right, I think that's right. Vida, if I could, I wanted to pivot here a little bit because we've been talking about obviously this huge news, President Trump and everything that's going on, ceasefire, 12-day war, were we going to war, are we not going to war, is it just a nuclear, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that you have been so good on is really kind of giving us that, being that lens into the window of Gen Z thinking, what's trending on TikTok, things like that. So if you could walk us through, how has this 12-day war and now the ceasefire and all of that, how is that playing out with Gen Z in your view?
Well, one of the reactions that I saw on TikTok, I think it was today. Somebody said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if there was nuclear war because then the ozone layer will be damaged and we'll all get a nice tan." So there's some very unserious reactions from Gen Z. We're not always a serious generation, but I think the overwhelming response has been, "We do not want war with Iran." This is a generation that has seen many failed conflicts in the Middle East, numerous forever wars, and they can't be duped like previous generation have because they have the full context. There was a lot of panic when President Trump authorized these strikes against Iran. To see him now say, "I am not interested," emphatically say, "I'm not interested in a forever war with Iran and in the Middle East again," that he actually wants peace, he wants an end to this. It has been really heartening for people in my generation who, again, overwhelmingly do not want this to escalate any further than it already has. And I think that has proven that President Trump really is the same guy we always thought he was, because he really always was against these conflicts. It's kind of what he made his name with on those original debates. So I think Gen Z has been really happy, frankly, with what's happened given the circumstances.